So, of course, I had to comment on this, got to weigh in on this. This is the thing that blew up on Twitter a couple days ago. There was a firestorm around this. So, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez went to the Met Gala, and she, I assume all of you know at this point what the Met Gala is. I've commented on it. I feel like every other year I comment on it on some forum, usually on Twitter, where I just ruthlessly make fun of the people who go to it, because it's a who's who of elitist douchebags. So I'm sure you guys know what it is. Most people at this point know what it is. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was invited. She went to it, and she wore a dress when she was there where on the back it says, "Tax the rich." So there were, I mean, needless to say, there were critics from the right, because with literally anything she does, she gets critics from the right. But then, of course, there's critics from the left as well. There's a growing contingent of the left that views her as insufficiently lefty and not fighting anywhere near hard enough and too cozy with power and all of these things. So I want to show you a little bit of her reaction to what happened. She says, "The medium is the message. And before haters get wild flying off the handle, New York elected officials are routinely invited to and attend the Met due to our responsibilities in overseeing and supporting the city's cultural institutions for the public. I was one of several in attendance in this evening." So I don't like what she's doing there, because she's making it seem like I'm doing this for the people. I'm going to this elitist douchebag gathering for the people. It's part of my responsibilities as an elected official to do it. I wish you would just be honest and be like, you know what? I want to hang around with the stars because I think hanging around with the stars is cool. There's more here. "Proud to work with Aurora James as a sustainably focused black woman immigrant designer," hard on the identity politics there, "who went from starting her dream at Brother Vellies at a flea market in Brooklyn to winning the CFDA against all odds, and then worked together to kick open the doors at the Met. The time is now for childcare, healthcare, and climate action for all. Tax the rich." So that last part, 100% correct. I'm for childcare, I'm for healthcare, I'm for climate action, I'm for taxing the rich. Again, I don't like this notion of like, we're there as these massive outsiders to kick down the doors at the Met. That's debatable at this point, just how much of an outsider Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is. So, I thought a lot about this. Now, I want to first let me explain my initial reaction when I saw this. My initial reaction when I saw the gown was that of indifference. I looked at it and I saw, yeah, she's definitely trying to... Brianna Greyjoy put it best. This is sort of like a Rorschach test as to what your feelings are about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. If you already don't like her, you're going to see this as performative BS. You're going to see this as virtue signaling, which is totally empty and totally hollow and, gets nothing done. You're also going to see it as hypocrisy that you're at this elitist gathering as you bring an anti-elitist message. If you already like her, you're going to look at this as her bringing an anti-elitist message into the lion's den among the elites. And you're going to view this as, something that has no downside at all. So it really is, I think Brianna Joy Gray is correct. It really is a Rorschach test, which is why you see basically all of the right wing is against her, and like half of the actual left is against her, because again, they don't see her as sufficiently lefty enough and not fighting hard enough for the things that we all care about and we all want. But now my initial reaction, like I said, was sort of indifference. Like I saw it and I was just like, eh. And I think the reason why I feel that way is because, for example, right now, the left is holding strong in this $3.5 trillion reconciliation negotiation. And since they're actually holding the line at the moment and they haven't backed down, it's like, okay, well, we asked them to use their leverage. Now they're using their leverage. So, credit where credit is due. You got to give credit where credit is due. If they do something in the course of this negotiation that I disagree with, then I'll be like, okay, no more credit because you guys backed down. They didn't back down to this point. Now, again, you guys know my red line in this bill, this reconciliation. negotiation, I say the bill's got to be $2 trillion or more, and it's got to have good provisions in it. Right now, the bill's phenomenal, $3.5 trillion. I need them to be, the final package to be at least $2 trillion or more and have good provisions in it. If it is, then I'm going to give them credit for having a seat at the table and negotiating well. If it's less than $2 trillion, I'd say, no, I'm voting against it. So I'll judge them in accordance with how they act on that. But right now, they're doing their job on this bill. So that's one thing, and there's many things I could point to, but that's one thing where it's like, okay, they're doing a good job. However, they've also done terrible jobs in the past. And also, they gaslit us in the process. So when they failed to force the vote on Medicare for All, that was one thing. Now, you could say, well, hold on, Kyle, that was a long shot anyway. We didn't have the votes. We think it would have been counterproductive for the movement to get Medicare for All to do that. That's a legit opinion that many people have. I don't happen to agree with it, but that's an opinion that many people have. But then, remember what Ocasio-Cortez said. She said, we got to keep our powder dry to force the vote on something like a $15 minimum wage, because there we could actually win. And then the fight came along in the last reconciliation package for a $15 minimum wage, and she instantly backed down. And they didn't vote as a block. They didn't use their leverage. They didn't force the vote on a $15 minimum wage. They didn't try to force Biden to try to change the minds of the 7 or 8 Senate Democrats who were against the $15 minimum wage. If you have like 12 Democrats in the House that say we're not voting for any reconciliation package unless a $15 minimum wage is in there, then Biden is incentivized to try to change the minds of the 7 or 8 Democrats who are against the minimum wage in the Senate. Because 8 is a lower number than 12. So who are you going to try to convince? The 8 or the 12? Well, Biden is for the $15 minimum wage. He signed the executive order to do $15 minimum wage for federal workers. So, okay, if you agree with us enough to do it there, you want to do it in the whole country, force them to do it. So they said we're going to force the vote and fight on $15 minimum wage. Then they didn't. So the left was correct to be like, why are you being so weak? You know, why are you not fighting for these things we want you to fight for? So I think the reason why I felt indifference is because now they are fighting on something. Before they didn't fight on something. And my feelings towards not just AOC, but virtually all the elected Justice Democrats are massively mixed. I understand that they're generally weak and they don't know how to vote together as a block and they're not nearly good enough. But I also have things in perspective and understand that they're not fucking Mitch McConnell. There's some people on the left who are have so lost the plot that they genuinely think that, you know, the left flank in the House is equal to Mitch McConnell. If you believe that, you're just not evaluating the evidence and the records properly. You know, you're letting your feelings override the facts on the situation. So the reason why I think I felt indifference is because they're massively mixed bags. Now, here's the thing. I don't want them to be mixed bags. I want them to be right about everything, because that's why we sent them there. So, of course, I have a lot of criticisms of them, but I think I have things in perspective. So, here is my general takeaway from her wearing this dress, because I thought a lot about this and about how it blew up and how everybody was arguing online. I hate to say this, but at the same time, I don't. I really hate the online left, and I hate all the factions of the online left. And let me explain why. You have the AOC Defense Squad, where they sniff her farts every day and they act like she's the best thing since sliced bread. They're super annoying because they don't ever criticize her. And it's just, you know, she means well, she's good, so now I'm going to work backwards from that conclusion and try to, like, rationalize everything she does. That is dumb! Think for yourself! So they annoy me, but then you have the others who have AOC derangement syndrome, where they genuinely think she is like Mitch McConnell, when she's not even close, and they annoy me too. And so, you know, I look at this and I go, are we ever going to get anything done ever if, you know, nobody has a balanced viewpoint on this? Nobody is evaluating the records and the evidence well? And then I also figured this out as I was looking at all of the fallout from this. I personally, not only do I hate the financial elite. Now, if you're genuinely on the left, you hate the financial elite. Like, it's a given. That's like part and parcel of being on the left is I hate the financial elite. So we all agree on that, whatever faction or subgroup of the left you're part of. But as I was watching this, I thought, one of the reasons why, you know, I sort of get why people hate what AOC is doing here is that I also hate the cultural elite. So I hate both the financial elite and the cultural elite. But there are some people on the left who hate the financial elite, but they don't hate the cultural elite. Or if anything, they might even like the cultural elite. So they might even like the Hollywood douchebags who virtue signal all day long and are just shitty, run-of-the-mill liberals. So that's what dawned on me, is that, like, I was joking on Twitter, and I was saying, if Biden drone striked the Met Gala, I'd be ecstatic. I said something like, if you polled the American people, 63% of them would support sending everybody at the Met Gala to Guantanamo Bay. And it's like, that, I mean, obviously I'm joking, and I don't want those things to happen, but I hate those people. I hate them. What's his face? Bakari Sellers tweeted something like, it's funny watching y'all go after AOC, knowing damn well if you were invited to the Met Gala, you would go. The fuck I would! Not in a million years would I go. I hate those people. I hate the financial elite, and I hate the cultural elite. I think they're terrible. I think they're terrible in different ways. They're the self-obsessed, narcissistic, hollow lives of the Hollywood elite and the cultural elite. I want nothing to do with that, man. I would much rather hang out in a fucking Union Hall or a random bar in Arkansas. Now, I don't want to hang out at a random bar in Arkansas. I don't want to do anything, but more so than going to this shitty thing. And so I think one of the things that annoys me about AOC is that she loves the Hollywood shit. And she also is trying to cloak it as in, no, I don't even really love the Hollywood shit. I'm just doing this for the people. It's my responsibility. Stop. Remember when she was like, tee-hee-hee, joking around with Chrissy Teigen on Twitter? She's happy to be in these elite circles. Now, okay, that's her prerogative, but at least be honest about it. At least be upfront about it and say, I might hate the financial elite, but I love the cultural elite. But see, that's one of the things, I'll never fully agree on that front. And I think that is another split on the left. You have people on the left who are against the financial elite and the cultural elite, and then you have people on the left who are only against the financial elite. And that I think is an irreconcilable difference. Because you're going to have the people who are stargazers, and they just can't get enough of that world. And then you're going to have the people who are disdainful of the stargazers. Because also, that's another world where it's not really a meritocracy. Like, everybody on the left understands that when it comes to the financial world, it is not a meritocracy. It's not the harder you work, the further you go, and that's why people are billionaires. But there are some people who inexplicably believe that in the cultural sphere, if you somehow made it to the top, well, it's because you deserved it and you earned it and you're like a good person and you're an interesting person. No! Most of those people are fucking assholes. So that's one of the things, man, that even though overall I'm just split on looking at the fallout from this AOC thing with the dress, and I see where everybody's coming from in the argument. Ultimately, I am more on the side of, like, I hate the Met Gala. I hate the cultural elite. If you're trying to get along with them, it is hard for me to trust you in any real way, because those values are so misaligned with where I am. Now, again, if you end up ultimately doing the right thing on all the policy stuff and fighting the right way, well, then, yeah, I could overlook it. But like I said, AOC's a mixed bag. Sometimes she does the right thing, and sometimes she doesn't, and she's weak, and they don't vote as a block, these House progressives. And now, again, right now with the reconciliation package, full credit because they're doing it. But I'm going to criticize them when they're wrong. So, listen, I would just implore everybody who's watching this, and I know my commentary is not going to make, the people happy on this. I don't care, because I'm telling you guys what I really think about it. But I would just implore everybody to, for the love of God, don't do a new fashionable version of tribalism. And that is what I see a lot on the online left, is that, so everybody can see how gross the partisan tribalism is when it comes to, like, the Democratic Party Defense Squad or the Republican Party Defense Squad. It's easy to see what, like, if it, like the K-Hive people or the hardcore Trump stands, everybody sees it and everybody knows it's gross. But there are left-wing versions of tribalism. There are. And, one of them is the squad is always right. Those people are obnoxious and annoying, and they're just as tribalist as the hardcore Democrats or the hardcore Republicans. They are. But another, tribal faction on the left is all the politicians are corrupt. All the politicians are exactly the same. No, that makes no sense. Like, yes, most of them are corrupt. 90, 95% of them are corrupt. But they're not all the same. There is a spectrum and there is a scale. And there is such a thing as, you know, a politician being center-left versus somebody being hard-right. Like, again, if you genuinely think, well, now Bernie Sanders is equal to Mitch McConnell or AOC is equal to Mitch McConnell, you're just doing a new version of dumb tribalism. And, you know, that is a thing that exists. So, for the love of God, stop trying to signal to your left-wing clique in-group that I'm with this faction of the left. I don't give a fuck. And nobody really gives a fuck in the grand scheme of things. So just call balls and strikes and call it like it is and look at what's happening and be honest about it. Oh, final point on this. It was a $30,000 per plate event. And I think what happened is the Met comped her $30,000 per plate thing. It was her and her boyfriend went. So, yeah, people are pointing out the hypocrisy of, like, you know, you're hobnobbing with these assholes and while you posture against them. I have no doubt that you would vote in a second to raise taxes on them. But yeah, I want you to raise taxes on them and also not want to try desperately to be part of the cool kids club. Because that's what it is. It's somebody who wants to be part of the cool kids club while at the same time pretending like, I hate the cool kids. I think that's why this gets under a lot of people's skin, and that I totally get.